Hey everybody, Chomsky here. Wishing everybody a happy new year and all that fun stuff. Just wanted to talk about some of the new updates to Roxam and Soulless. We're gonna. They also released officially that it's gonna be Assassin's Creed is the new intellectual property that they're collabing with. So that's gonna be rad. So expect some dungeon stuff coming up, and all that. I think it's gonna come out this Thursday, the 8th. So I'll have something then too. But just wanted to go over Roxum and and Solus and their new updates. So I'm gonna read this to you, but if you check your Discord, it should already be out there, and I'm certain that other content creators have already done it. But hey, it's in the afternoon. I'm on my break, so might as well. Uh, the changes is that is A1 basically fills up his turn meter by 20% if he's under a veil, which is great. More turn meter, the better. If Roxham's with Teox, Teox's ally attack kicks in, and you could kind of spam this as well. So this way he gets going another 1/5 of his turn meter, which is a pretty substantial bump up. The A2 it's going to ignore shield, strength, and unkillable. He fills up his turn meter by 50%, which is wow. Um, Basically, puts a stun out there if he's under a veil. If he's not under a veil, he gets to put sleep in addition to that single target hit, and then he places a perfect veil on himself. So that's pretty neat. I'm more geeked about that 50% turn meter boost, man. That is huge. Uh, when he's when he's under perfect veil on his A3, he's attacking all enemies. Before doing that, he tosses out decreased defense and weaken, uh, like the Lydia version, and then he's decreasing the cooldown of his jungle ambush, which is the A2, uh, which gets gets wonky, man. If he's not under a veil, basically he just does a decreased defense and weaken. He's attacking one enemy, and then he places a perfect veil on himself. Uh, you want to keep him under perfect veil as much as you can because he's also going to ignore block debuff, shield, and strengthen. So basically, he says, no, 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 tosses that on. So, how do we get perfect veil with him? We either attack or uh, on his passive, he places a block debuff and an increased attack on him for one turn and a continuous heal whenever they receive a perfect veil. Well, that perfect veil gets kicked in if there's a buff from skills. So that line from skills, they're not going to include Stone Skin unless if it's a Leonardo. Uh, it's basically, hey, I'm going to do an activity. You're going to get a buff. Roxham's going to get his perfect veil. Okay, and then whenever he gets a perfect veil, he gets that block debuff, increase attack, continuous heal. So you may not necessarily want to have Roxanne being your super fast guy, but he's going to need speed because if the target's max HP is higher than this champion's, it's going to ignore 15% of that target's defense. If the max HP is more than double this dude's, he's going to ignore 30%. Awesome. Love it. Why? Make him as a glass cannon. Like, just legit. Don't care too much about HP. Make sure he can sustain himself, and then have him go A2, places a stun on some Yakmo, gets himself a 50% turn meter, and then he goes to A3. He's under that perfect veil, and then he's attacking all enemies and not giving a shit about block debuffs, man. Uh, and I would love to see this damage modifier because this seems like this could hit stupid because he's putting decreased defense and weaken and then attacking. So and he's gonna have an increased attack. Like I'm gonna put it out there, and he goes. And there's a five piece that goes up there. So I'm gonna put it out there. I know I talked about him being a Vault Guardian, but I I'm intrigued, and let me power that down. I'm intrigued because uh, I could essentially uh, I could essentially make a +4 Roxam, and I will because I am intrigued by that new kit, and I really want to test him out. I could see him being a solid side companion. Think to Teox. I could see him being Robin to his Batman, and I think that'd be really rad. So in a Lizardman faction war, I could see Teox, uh, Roxam, uh, Lazarius, and then Sophurion as a pretty solid team there. I have I try to do a preset on them. You know, if I was really gung ho on protection, like this isn't the best, and it's also not the worst. Like 220 speed, 250 crit damage. That's pretty much base. That's pretty much middle of the pack, right? Baseline. I think that's okay. I have him in a 9-piece protection because my resistance is so low, which it's fine. I'm not really necessarily too worried about it. But the other preset I had for him was a 6-piece stone skin at 217 uh, crit capped because there's no masteries for him yet. 5500 attack, and then I don't know if I'm going to need accuracy or not, but if I do, I could modify this. And this is kind of, it's not my nuking stuff, but this is also on people that I'm okay comfortable taking things away from, like Yakimasa. I This is gonna hurt because I've been using Tomb Lord a little bit more, as well as oh god, Jorgid, Dathy's in there too. So like this is basically my cursed city people that I'm taking things away from, and that's fine. So I'm definitely gonna mess around with him and see where it goes because he's very intriguing. Toss him in Lizardmen, and it's gonna be okay. On the flip side, we're gonna see Roxam a little bit more, in content, and I could see him being more of a pain in the ass. Uh, I would imagine because of these updates, we're gonna see Roxam in the event dungeon. That's gonna be coming with the Assassin's Creed dude. I could, you know, I could definitely see in Dark Forest, Roxam becoming a little bit more prevalent. It just kind of fits that motif, right? So I wouldn't be too surprised, but I'm overall I'm eager to see this come out, and I'm also going to be eager to get him going because I have no masteries for him. But that's that's the name of the game, man. So we're gonna have a CVC shortly. I imagine I could then mess around with it. Then the next up we have Soulless, and as you can see, I built him up with 6-piece stone skin and 3-piece feral, which I would love to get 9 pieces of feral on him, but I also don't think that's necessarily the best thing for him. So, you know, I have Blades of Akumori, which is going to be really neat, because of that chance of place and provoke. You know, it's an instant thing. There's accuracy in there. There's HP. I have the gems where it's increasing his speed, and then he's destroying max HP, and then he's also getting a better chance to get a weak hit tossed on him. So a lot of sustainability right there. He's defense based. That hasn't changed whatsoever. But um, let's just show that. Boop. There we go. So his A1 is going to get changed. He's ignoring 30% of target's defense if it's under a provoke. So sweet. Uh, you know, that's on his A1. Ignoring defense, I absolutely love it. And he's also still having that chance to place a stun. Like that's that's kind of bonkers. And his damage is going to get modified too. So his A2 is an AoE. He's attacking all enemies. Has, I would imagine, a 100% chance to remove all buffs. Again, he's a void defense dude, so he's not going to have any weak hits. Okay. He also has a chance to place decrease attack and hex for 2 turns. So you want to have some accuracy here. Uh, then we have his A3, in which I it's kind of cute how they have basic, but really we're just going to go fully ascended no matter what. He's attacking all enemies, increases duration of debuffs on him by 1 turn, places a provoke. Cool. Now he's placing a shield on all allies for 2 turns, equal to 30% of his damage. And he's getting a counterattack for 2 turns. And it's going to increase for each debuff on the target. So he gets 10% more. Um, this has the chance to be a slapper for sure. He's a defense based nuker. Scratch that. He's a defense based crowd controller that also has the ability to damage. I don't want to call this a nuke necessarily, but that's pretty awesome. Sidebar, we use nuke for a lot of things. I need to do a better job of being more cognizant of when I use it. Putting Reign of Terror as a nuke, I don't necessarily see that. Either way, uh, let's go back. The follow provocation is his passive. He's ignoring 30% of a target's resistance if the defense is lower than his. Allies deal. This is the cool one. Allies deal a quarter more damage to targets under a provoke debuff placed by this champion. So we definitely want to have provoke out there by him as much as possible. I don't know if they're talking about regular provoke from the skills or if we put a provoke set on him and we then go nuts. Because that would be rad. And especially with that relic, that also has the ability to be placed. So I don't know if that would actually count. That's something to eventually look into. Yada yada yada. If there's more than one Soulless out there, then only one of them's going to hit. Uh, Thankfully, they changed his aura. His aura used to be just in faction crypts, which was a beefcake of 44%. Now it's just in all battles by a third. So he gets 33%, which is pretty substantial. But I have him here. He's in a pretty decent defense thing. Um, he's got a lot of attack. I don't like that. So I'll definitely take a look at this again. But I have him as with 340 crit damage, accuracy at 505, resistance at 315. I I just don't like the idea of that counterattack being stolen. So more resistance would be cool too. Not that I'm opposed to this setup, but I definitely went with accuracy here. I could definitely move things around and mess around with it. But yeah, like I just need better feral things. Um, I could glyph things up and stuff like that, but uh, yeah, there's definitely room for improvement for sure. But as it is right now, I went with this kind of a wonky of a mastery, but we want crit rate, we want crit damage. I chose healing just in case if he is less than half life, as well as I could see him hitting pretty hard. And they're doing some damage modification. So getting more speed isn't the worst thing. Opportunist seems like fun, just because the whole stun thing. And yeah, getting a little bit more damage if he is a damage dude, I think that's fine. Giving more uh, damage, like his HP is not exactly there, but I would expect a fair amount of champions to have more HP than he does. And then methodical because it's going to help against the counter attack with the counter attack, and then helm smasher for ignoring defense. I went with defense here. I could have gone resistance, which may have been the better play, but as it stands right now, defense is fine. He's getting less AoE damage, increasing values in the value of shields and healing that he receives, getting 10% of his max HP when he kills someone, potentially putting a leech out there, again with the stun. If this was under provoke, then this would be an absolute must, but not the case. And then having deterrence out there, just because I absolutely love this skill. You know, with that A1 being tossed out there, let's review that yet again. Has a chance of placing stun out there, and he's ignoring defense. It's a 35% chance. I don't know if that's going to go up, if they're going to acknowledge the previous, um, which they will, but they should. You know, that's 50. That's another 25 or another 20. So sorry, 50 because I thought that's yeah. Buff debuff chance plus 15%. So he's at 50% to place a stun. So I just want him attacking as much as I can, and if they have people out there, great, cool. I just want to stun them. So stone skins this way he could withstand something. Um, Having provoke then, and then just have him be the target to soak everything up. So with that said, HP definitely needs to go up a little bit, or defense, and then there we go. I definitely went heavy on damage rather than sustainability, but an argument can be made like that. And then I still have him in Soul Reap uh, as blessing, or never mind. I had him in Soul Reap at one time. He has intimidating presence. This is going to change. It's either going to be Lightning Cage, to just protect those buffs, or as I was saying, Soul Reap, just because I'm going to be dealing a lot of attacks, and if they're under 20%, basically he's got a chance to toss in a true fear on them if they live. So definitely a lot of crowd control with Soulless. Same thing with Roxam. I would imagine that he's going to be utilized a little bit more in PvE content against us. So as excited as I am about buffs, I also got to be really, really mindful that these are champs that Raid is going to toss out against us. So as much as I'm cheering them on for these buffs, just these champs, but also in general, salute. Uh, there's also the opportunity for them to really mess with us, and that's part of what's fun. This is I dig it, and I want Raid to do more of these things because it keeps us on our toes. Either way, uh, yeah, Soulless and Roxam. I need to go back to my Cecilia. I need to do a redo on that one because, hey man, I didn't do it yet. And I got a comment of like, I may have done her wrong. So I definitely want to do a showcase, more or less, on her of version 2.0. So stay tuned. Anyways, happy Monday, happy Siege tomorrow, and go Bears.